Okay, more factoring today. First part of today, or your assignment today, you're going to be finding common factors. And we're going to say that when asked to write an expression in factored form, the greatest common factor must be pulled out of the expression. So today you're going to get some expressions like 6n squared plus 9n. And you're going to be asked to write the expression in factored form. So in order to write this in factored form, what you want to do is you want to take this 6n squared right here, and you want to take the 9n, and you start with just the numbers, all right? And you find the largest factor of 6 and 9. You're trying to find the largest number that'll go into 6 and 9 evenly. All right? The largest number that will go into 6 and 9 evenly is a 3. Then when you're dealing with the exponents, or I'm sorry, dealing with variables with exponents, if both terms that you're factoring have a variable, then your greatest common factor has that same variable. Bless you. And then the power of your greatest common factor is the same as the smallest power of the variables. Okay? Smallest power of the variables. So this 9n is to the first power. So this greatest common factor is going to be 3n to the first power. But you don't write the 1. Okay? So now, the next step, parentheses, is to take this 3n, all right? And in order to determine what goes inside the parentheses, you take the 3n and you divide it back into 6n squared, and then you divide it into 9n. So step by step here, 3 goes into 6. It goes 2 times. And n to the first goes into n squared, n times. And since this sign is plus, then this is plus. Then you take your 3, you divide it into the 9, and 3 goes into 9 3 times. And n goes into n 1 time, right? But you don't write it, okay? So right here is what we got. factored form would be 3n times 2n plus 3. Now, the way that you check that, the way that you check your factors is to do the distributive property or to multiply again. So if you took 3n times 2n, you would get 6n squared. And if you took 3n and you multiplied it by 3, you would get 9n. And if this product is the same as the expression that you started with, then you factored correctly. Make a sense? Very good, very good. Then you'll see some trinomials that you'll have to factor. Well, you're going to be factoring some trinomials a couple of different ways today, but here's one of the ways. 4x squared plus 20x minus 56. All right, when you're asked to factor a trinomial that looks like this one, leading coefficient, or your a value is something other than positive or negative 1, the first thing you want to ask yourself is, can I divide or can I factor out this a? And since 4 goes into 4 and it goes into 20 and that goes into 56, you can factor a 4 out in your first step. So the first thing you do here is you take out a 4. And inside the parentheses, you're left with x squared plus 5x minus 14. All right, so now you're going to do exactly what you did yesterday with the trinomial that's inside the parentheses. So don't forget to bring down your 4. All right, so the 4 comes down. We need the factors of 14. So we got 1 and 14, and we got 2 and 7. And the 2 and the 7 are the only two that'll get you a 5. Okay, so we factor this. We got our x and our x. Since this 5 is positive, all right, and the 14 is negative, we got a plus 7 and a negative 2. Positive 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. Positive 7 minus 2 is positive 5. So those are your two factors. In this case, though, you were able to factor the 4 out first. So if you can pull a factor out in the first step, do it. It'll make your factoring much simpler. Let's take a look at 7n squared minus 21. Seven n squared minus 21. You got two terms here. This is a binomial. The largest factor of 7n squared and 21 would be 7. There's no variable with it because the 21 doesn't have a variable with it. So then we determine what goes inside the parentheses by dividing the 7 back into 7n squared. And 7 into 7n squared, you got 7n squared divided by 7. 7's canceled, you're just left with n squared. Minus and minus, and then you divide 7 into 21, and that goes 3 times. And since n squared minus 3 can't be simplified, you are finished. 9x squared plus 9x minus 18. All right, again, your leading term is not a positive or negative 1. So you ask yourself, does it go into every term? And 9 goes into 9 and 18. So you can factor out a 9. And what you're left with inside the parentheses is x squared plus x minus 2. And now you can factor what's inside the parentheses. And if you list your factors of 2, well, there's 1 and 2. So in factored form, we got 9 times x plus 2 times x minus 1. Positive 2 minus 1 gives you positive 1. Positive 2 times negative 1 gives you the negative 2. Four x squared plus 8x plus 12 all terms are divisible by 4, so you can factor out a 4 in the first step. What you're left with is x squared plus 2x plus 3. There are only 2 factors for 3. Four x squared plus 8x plus 12 with a 3. Interesting here. Looking at this trinomial in here, there's only 2 factors of 3. You got a 1 and a 3. But since this 3 out here at the end is positive, both of these have to be positive, or both of them have to be negative. It's not going to work, is it? So what that means, if you can't factor the trinomial anymore, then you're done. All right, this is your simplest form. That is your factored form. All you had to do is pull out the 4. When you get to a point where you can't factor the trinomial, you're finished. Everybody good with that? Finding the greatest common factors, and then if there's a trinomial left, you factor it. Okay, second part of your assignment today. This is factoring. Ax squared plus bx plus c. And this is when the absolute value of a is not equal to 1. Which is another way of saying that this a value is not going to be positive or negative 1. Yesterday, when it was a negative, all you did was factor out a negative 1. When it was a 1, the rule was 2 factors that multiply to c, but they add up to b. Now, that all changes when this a is not a 1. So here's what we're starting off with. We got 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. All right, so this type of factoring, when that a is not a positive or negative 1, adds a whole nother set of rules to your factors. And it kind of changes everything you learned yesterday in a way. All right. Simplest way to start this is you're going to have a binomial times a binomial. And when you multiply these two binomials, when you multiply this first term by this first term, it has to equal 2x squared. So there's only two things that can go in these first positions. Okay? This can be a 2x and this can be an x. And that's it. The second term in each set of parentheses, the values of the second term, they still have to multiply to 12. But there's some different things going on within this system because you got a 2 in front of this first x. Okay? So now, there's this little tic-tac-toe method that some people really like. So you draw this little 3x3 matrix on your paper. Nothing goes here. Now, what goes where the cursor is right now, what goes in this box and this box are the factors of 2x squared. So there goes your 2x and here goes your x. Now, here's where the fun begins. What goes here and here are the factors of the 12. Okay? So this is where you start with trial and error. Factors of 12. You got 1 and 12, you got 2 and 6, you got 3 and 4. Now, since this 2 is in front of the x, 3 and 4 means also 4 and 3. So I'm going to go with, I need to get to 11 in the middle. Everything's positive. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm better at this. I'm gonna go with 4 and 3. Here's what's got to happen. This 4 times this 3. See where they are in the matrix? Their product goes here. 3 times 4 is the 12. It goes right here. So this 12 matches this 12. We're good. Now, 2x times x goes 2x squared. First term, we're good. These two boxes have to add up to the middle. Got it? So look, you take your x times the 3. See where they intersect? The 3 and the x, 3x. You take the 2x times the 4, you get your 8x. And since 3x plus 8x is 11x, we have everything in the correct position. So now, since everything is positive in the trinomial, all the factors are positive. So our factors become 2x plus 3 and x, this up here, This x and this 4 means x plus 4. This becomes 2x plus 3. This becomes x plus 4. So there are your two factors. So let's try two x squared minus 7x plus 6. All right, I know I'm going to be here and here. I know I'm going to have a 2x and an x. Now I'm going to my table. Again, I got a 2x and I got an x. And I'm working with factors of 6. So I got 1 and 6 and I got 2 and 3. I got to deal with a negative in the middle and a positive at the end. So aren't I going to need a negative times a negative? I'm going to need a negative times a negative to get to a positive, and a negative plus a negative to get to a negative 7. 6 and 1 or 2 and 3. I'm going to go with this. If I go 6 and 1, I get 6, but I get 6x and I get 2x. And it doesn't give me 8x, does it? Or I'm sorry, it doesn't give me the 7x. So another little bit of advice is write very lightly, because you're going to be doing a lot of erasing. So 2 here gives me a 2x. 3 here gives me a 6. 3x. All right, here we go. I need a 3 and a 4. No, I need a 3 and a 2. All right, 2x times x, 2x squared. 3 times 2, 6. There's my first and last term. Now, I got my x times my 3. I'm going to make it a negative 3. Negative 3 times x, negative 3x. Negative 2 times 2x, negative 4x. See what happens here now? Those two sum this negative 7x. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. So everything aligns. So my factors become 2x minus 3 and x minus 2. A couple of things that have happened in the past, when I said write lightly, I shouldn't have said that, because when people have drawn this grid and they wrote lightly so that they could erase, then they would try another set of numbers and it wouldn't work, and then they would erase, and then they would forget what they had tried and what they didn't try. So just start a new table next to it, okay? Because sometimes these numbers will get a little bit bigger and you'll have more options. And you want to remember that you tried the 3 here and the 2 there, or you tried something here and something there and it didn't work, just so you don't try it again and waste your time. Got it? Good. Let's try it again. Let's try it with 4x squared minus 4x minus 3. And now you've only got a 1 and a 3 or a 3 and a 1 at the end. But for a 4x squared, you can do 4x times x, and you can also do 2x times 2x. So you have multiple options here, okay? So I'm just going right to the table. I'm gonna, let me think, 4x and x, 4x times a 1 would be 4x and 3, no. I'm gonna go with a 2x and a 2x and a 3 and a 1. Because my 3 times my 1 is 3. My 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Now, my 2x times 3, that's 6x. But I need a negative 4x in the middle, so I need this to be negative. So I'm going to make this negative. This 3's got to be negative. And now I got a 2x times a 1, and that's a 2x. And if we combine these two, negative 6x plus 2x, there's your negative 4x. Negative 3 times 1 is the negative 3. And 2x times 2x is 4x. So here's one of your factors, 2x minus 3. Here's the other factor, 2x plus 1. Bless you. All right, let's look at one more, and then I'm going to give you some practice to do. Let's do 4x squared plus 7x plus 3. Four x squared plus 7x plus 3. Everything's got to be positive. I'm going to go with 4x and x. I'm going to go with 3 and 1. I get a 4x squared. 3 times x is 3x. 4x times 1 is 4x. And 1 times 3 is 3. Everything's positive, like I said, so we get a factor 4x plus 3, x plus 1. Here and here. The amount of times these problems take you will all depend on your ability to predict. Your ability to predict. You got to predict what this plus this will equal. And at the same time, you got to pick your correct first term for each binomial. All right, so your practice for today is on page 221. Page 221, 32 to 46. As always, it's going in the basket, or you're going to email me a picture of your work when the period is over. That is all I have for you today. If you're an e-learner, you are excused at this time to work on the assignment. The answers are at the bottom of the page. Just don't look at them until you finish the problem, please. Makes it more of a challenge. For you e-learners, I'm going to end the meeting at this time, and I will upload the notes to Focus.